and sit down.
Alright. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of More Content Talk. That's the only show that cuts through the glam, the glitz, and all the bullshit to bring you the truthiest news that we can find. Today, I thought I would talk about victim shaming. I don't know if that's a term you've heard or not. It's my little take on, these little words we like to use these days. These kids with these words. It's not really kids, it's the internet. They make up terminology. A term that gets used a lot is shaming. We talk about the shaming of all sorts of things, but we don't really talk about the shaming of victims. And by victim shaming, I guess what I mean is this whole idea that everything that everyone complains about, anytime a person complains, anytime a person makes a noise, anytime a person says, well, maybe that's not right, anytime a person says, well, I don't know if I can keep walking right now, maybe I can't make it, maybe it's not going to be all right, maybe I'm not okay, maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe I need help. Anytime a person needs that, they're automatically pounced upon these days, and I have to say, it's quite a regression from the progress that I thought that we had made as a species. For a species that goes on and on about shaming, why is it that the person who has been wronged is always a chronic complainer? That's the label today, is that this person is just, that if you they've been treated as a victim, you see, is what it is. That's what people say. And the more you treat people like victims, then the more they become victims. And they'll think they're a victim, and therefore don't treat people like victims and be an asshole to people, and, they'll learn to not be victims. And that don't work, especially if someone's getting punched in the face repeatedly. You can try to, I don't know. How do you not be a victim in that case? I don't really get it. I don't understand. It's nonsense. You have people online who are not psychologists going around saying that everyone's victimizing themselves now. Everyone has this, everyone's delusional. Nothing bad has ever actually happened to anyone anymore. It's all a kind of, the brown and the black people and the women and the gay people and the transgender people. They're all imagining all this stuff, you see. It's not really happening. It's in your imagination. And the more you pay attention to it and the more you complain about it, the more they're going to call you crazy. Because that's the technique, is to get you used to what they want. And by they, I mean the right. The right wants a theocracy. And there's not going to be any diversity in this theocracy. I don't think you really seem to understand the level to which this goes. You don't get to be diverse in under their leadership. You can have that, at least to a certain extent, under Democratic leadership, under President Biden. You can have that. You're not going to have it. You're simply not going to have any semblance of it under this new right, which they call the new right, which I don't like to call the new right because it's been around since the 1980s, in the early 1980s, like 1983. Was when basically white supremacist America declared war on the federal government. And I'll get into that in another episode. But because you have that, right? Because there is a real threat of oppression, there is a real threat of white supremacy and domestic terrorism in this country. And you're acting as if people are just creating this out of thin air. And I don't really know what the game is there. I don't know if you're trying to imagine your problems away. I don't know if you're trying to, put in inject some sort of propaganda here. But it's not going to work on me. You're not gonna make me feel bad because I'm standing up to this nonsense. And this is what this kind of, pop psychology does. It's meant to break you down and make you feel weird for feeling normal things. Things that a normal psychologist would tell you it's just fine. If you're being abused, to speak up about it, to have a voice, that's normal. Protesting is normal. It's not a threat to society. It's a very intricate part and integral part of a democratic society. And both sides should protest when they feel the need. And I think the California recall is stupid, but I would never say that people didn't have a right to vote in it, or they didn't have a right to complain about Gavin Newsom or whatever. So what I'm saying is, they're demonizing things that are normal. They're demonizing your right to protest and demonizing your right to think your own thoughts and not have them dictated to you by the government, which is exactly what, when Republicans get in office, that's what they do all the time. I mean, and yes, of course, you've had Democrats do it as well. I'm not disputing that. I just admitted the other day that Democrats can be a dirty party. I'll do an episode soon on how Democrats can be a dirty party. It's like I told you before, I have no real affiliation to these parties. I don't really understand why anyone does anymore. But it's important that we maintain our society within that. We can't go off the rails like these white supremacists do and get all crazy, okay? Because that's what they want anyway. And so what we have to do is we have to figure out a way. I don't like to use the term coexist because I think it's a pretty stupid term. But we can figure out a way to have dialogues with each other where we don't have to get so nuts. But that becomes almost impossible when the end of it, when your de facto argument is that, well, stop being a victim. It's an insult to people who are actually victims. And, I got to tell you, I don't... From the vast majority of times that I've had people, say maybe act like a victim, like I don't know what that means. I guess that just means observing the fact that you've been abused now. When they're doing that, 9 times out of 10, I gotta tell you, people are being sincere, because people don't like to share intimate things, unless it's some kind of scam artist. But I mean, the moment the person asks you for your money, walk away, right? Or the moment the person asks to sleep with you or something, or whatever they're trying to get at, then you say, you're full of shit, and you walk away. That's normal. We've always done that. This whole thing where everyone who complains about racism, or everyone who complains about not getting a job because of unfair treatment, or everyone who's complaining about worker safety, or everyone who's, griping because they've worked, 20 years and haven't been able to get anywhere because of various, disabilities, or unfortunate events, or just the cost of rent's going up. Don't rag on that person because they're complaining. They have a right to complain, okay? It's that complaining is not always bad. And this is a very anti-complaining, people here in America. Like, it's just not allowed. It's almost forbidden. It's some sort of sin or something. It's weird because I don't recall anything like that in the Bible, and this is supposed to be a Christian nation, right? So shouldn't people have a right to speak on, their feelings? I mean, I really don't get it. I mean, what do you want? You want to go back to the church where you just went to confession? I mean, I guess that's what people want. There's a time where that was the only time you ever got to speak was when you're at confession, Otherwise, you had people ragging on you on what you were saying and saying, well, you can't speak like that, and, So, I mean, I don't know. Why don't you want people to talk? Why you ever wonder why you get so irritated when people, quote unquote, complain when they bring up things that are problems? Why does that automatically irritate you? Because I used to be like that. And then one day I said to myself, you know what? That's fucking weird. Because, of course, nothing is ever going to get any better if you're not allowed to complain, right? If you're not allowed to recognize the fact that something's wrong, you can't improve it. Because there's nothing wrong. You've convinced yourself that everything's fine. And so don't discourage people from complaining, and don't just encourage only positive behavior, because that becomes very condescending. And whatever movement you're trying to promote, I guarantee you eventually people will fall away, because it is impossible to maintain a constant stream of positivity 24/7. And it's also, if you try to do it, which I've tried to do, it's extremely exhausting, and eventually it becomes irritating to the point of where you don't want to be positive at all anymore. And who knows, I know that for me, it caused me to be very introverted, and it seems that some of these people who become introverted, when they're too far into this violent conspiracy stuff, it seems like that leads to some very bad places. Shootings and, suicides and all kinds of things. So, lay off, I think, a little bit when it comes to complaints. If people want to complain, let them complain. I mean, it's just not that big a deal. And if you don't want to hear it, I mean, that's fine. Put your headphones on. That's what I do. Like if my, like someone's bothering me on the bus or something, I just put my headphones on. I'm not going to sit there and lecture them on the benefits of not complaining or how you're really the problem because you're victimizing yourself. Yo, it sounds like some kind of weird thing that a rapist would say, and I just can't get with that. So maybe, no, let's not go there. Just allow people to be, upset. What's wrong with being upset? That's something I notice about white people. You all are very upset about people being upset. It's ironic. You turn on the TV, you see white people, and they're very, very just perplexed and angry. And, oh, my goodness, did you see the protest? Did you see how angry everyone was? It was terrible. I'm so mad that everyone's mad. That's what you get on the news. A bunch of white people screaming about how, the black people, they're tearing things up. And then, they're throwing their pencils and their desk all over the place. And, and then face is like red. You look at Tucker Carlson, his face is red the entire show. He's mad when he comes on. Already pissed. Nothing happened to Tucker Carlson. Nothing that's ever happened to that man. He's had everything. You read about that man's life. He's had everything handed to him. But he's pissed the moment he comes on. And you know what he's pissed about? He's pissed because you're pissed. And you need to stop being pissed or Tucker's going to get pissed. Or the pop psychologist on whatever blog, or Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, doesn't matter. The point is that's a technique that's used on the right, is to make you feel bad about feeling bad, or about being victimized. And it's a very sophisticated form of reverse psychology, and don't fall for it. If you think something's wrong, you feel wronged, you have a right to at least analyze it and talk about it. And so be it if it upsets someone else. So what? Maybe that's not someone you should be talking to or hanging out with, and at least you've expedited the process. You can get them out of your life quicker. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me here on More Content Talk. Remember, we have Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at More Content Talk. That name, you can find all of those three. You can also follow us on Twitter at more_content PLS. And you can check us out on our website, which you can find on Anchor. We are available on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Anywhere you can find us, we're probably there. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful evening, night, afternoon, day, siesta, whatever it may be. And hey, when life gets you down, you can always laugh at Tucker Carlson. No, laugh at something else. Farewell.